Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. On today's afternoon show, we have the UEFA agreement with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. Manchester United will be able to play in the Champions League and the Europa League. That is coming out. Also, some interesting stuff on an outside shout as a new manager of Manchester United. Ten Hag in, and I am firmly Ten Hag in, but Ineos are exploring other options. And you've seen the title, a name has been mentioned, so we're going to discuss that and realistically how realistic is this. Also, right winger from PSV that Manchester United are going to miss out on because of Liverpool, and also because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is putting his foot down and there's a certain right winger that he wants to bring to Manchester United. And should a right winger even be a priority for the summer with the limited budget we're going to have, financial fair play? Going to discuss all of that getting into the show. But welcome everybody, happy Tuesday afternoon. Let's get into things. Also, if you want your chats heard, if you want to get your chats in, make sure you put a super chat down below and we can discuss them as well. But welcome to the show. So let's get straight into it. First and foremost, I heard Mark speaking about this. Was it yesterday morning? By the way, anyone watching the morning show, did anybody see when Mark called me out about Dalot? I will die on that hill. Dalot is definitely good enough for Man United. But anyway, let's get into news. I saw Mark speaking about the potential UEFA blow. I think it was yesterday morning, about how when you have a multi-club model, if Nice were to finish higher than us, then there is a UEFA rule that Manchester United wouldn't be able to play in the Europa League or the Champions League, basically based on the fact that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has ownership in Nice and he also has ownership into Manchester United. I think everybody's kind of well aware of that rule now, but it's coming out from Matt Hughes that Manchester United have received assurances from UEFA that they will be allowed to take part in the Europa League next season if Nice also qualify, despite the European governing body's restrictions on multi-club ownership. So, there we have it. Manchester United and Nice will be allowed to coexist and both compete in the competitions, which I'm not going to lie, I always knew would be the case. I mean, I know Manchester United has been run poorly for many, many years, but when we've spoke about this in the past, I've never been worried. And the reason I've never been worried is because there is absolutely no way on this earth, well, I thought there was no way on this earth that Man United would ever be entertaining Southgate rumours, but that started to happen. But there isn't any way on this earth that Manchester United go through that many lawyers, go through that many people with experience and knowledge on this subject to finalise a deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos to buy a percentage of Manchester United, forgetting that the rule of the European governing body's restriction on a multi-club model and not have assurances or have it sorted out before they go with the purchase of Manchester United. There's just no way. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos wouldn't have been allowed to buy Manchester United and they wouldn't have bought Manchester United if there was any way on earth that Man United could be excluded of playing in Europe. If that was the case, it just never would have happened. So I always knew that we'd be fine and we'd end up playing in the Champions League and the Europa League anyway. It is a rule that is there. But like Mark said in his show, I think that a couple of days ago, whether we have to adhere to that rule is another story. And rules can be bent sometimes. That is the way things work. And Manchester United were never going to be excluded from the Champions League or Europa League. The only way that's going to happen is if we don't get into it ourselves by not playing well enough and not getting them positions. And it says here that United will be allowed to take part in the Europa League. Hang on a second, I want to rewind. Who says United are going to be in the Europa League next season? I'm aiming for the Champions League. Yeah, I'm aiming for the Champions League. Sack the Europa League. Of course, I'd rather that than nothing. But Man United right now, I'm aiming for that fifth spot. And that sounds sad, and we shouldn't be hyping up fifth. But from the season we've had, I am going to hype up fifth, because if we get it, I'll be buzzing. Champions League football, that's what we want to see at the Theatre of Dreams, not Europa League. So that's the little update on that. People are taking the mick out of my accent. Someone's saying, Beth, it sounds like you're saying Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Sorry, everyone. Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Is that better for you? Also, Europe. It's the Mancunian accent, guys. Give me a break, honestly. But no, on that, I mean, we always knew it was going to happen. And it's a very good source as well coming out from there. So, obviously, yeah, we can play in the Champions League, Europa League, but we've got to get into them spots first. Get in the comments down below. Do you think Man United will be playing Champions League or Europa League football? or none of them? Get in your comments where you think we'll end up finishing this season. And as I can see the United Stand admin in there saying this is a news show. I know I've seen a lot of people were upset with the title of this video. I understand it, you know, the Ancelotti manager target. I'm going to talk about that in a second because it is news. But at the end of the day, I don't go out there and just make up a story to do a show on. We go out there and look at the latest news, and that's what makes our show. This is a news article. This is out there in the news. I'm going to discuss it in more detail, but that's what the show's called, because that is what we're discussing, because it is a news article out there. But let's get on to that now, actually. Carlos Ancelotti. So it comes in that Manchester United are interested in appointing Real Madrid manager Carlo Ancelotti, although a move seems unrealistic. Like we said, unrealistic, and I will give my opinion on this. According to a report by Football Transfers, the Red Devils are interested in highly successful Ancelotti, who has won numerous trophies in his career. But this seems unlikely due to him recently extending his contract with Real Madrid. First and foremost, like I said, this is a news show. This is news. Manchester United interested in Carlo Ancelotti. Man United would be silly not to be interested in Carlo Ancelotti if Ten Hag left the Manchester United job. Ten Hag, I think, will still be manager at the start of next season. I want him to still be manager at the start of next season. I'm sure a lot of you guys want him to be manager at the start of next season, but you have to have other options just in case something goes wrong. And Carlo Ancelotti would be someone that Man United are looking at. But they'll also be looking at Hansi Flick. They'll also be looking at Nagelsmann. They'll also, apparently they're looking at Graham Potter and Gareth Southgate, which they shouldn't be looking at, but apparently they are. They'll be looking at numerous different types of managers. Remember that time we got linked to Zinedine Zidane? This is what they'll be doing. You know, Ineos have only just come into the club. They're not going to go, everything on Ten Hag. We're not going to look at anybody else. Ten Hag will still be in post, I think, at the start of next season. I think everything kind of directs us to that. The fact that it's going to cost money to get rid of him. The fact that he seems like, hopefully, that Liverpool game, we've turned a corner. The results have actually been quite good in 2024. And the majority of the fan base, I would say, are really behind Ten Hag and want him to stay. So I think Ten Hag will still be here, and I really want him to be. But there is a point where you're going to have to just look, just in case something did go wrong, where would we go to next? Even if Ten Hag left the job, though, I don't think Ancelotti would be a manager that we'd get in. Man United might want to go for Ancelotti, but I don't think Ancelotti would want to come to us. You know, he's managed in the Premier League before at Everton, which, again, seems like something that had happened in a parallel universe, but he did it, and it was incredible for the Premier League. He's at Real Madrid, where they're building an absolute super team. He's loved there. He's adored there. The players really like him. And there's talks that after he finishes at Real Madrid, he might go on to the Brazilian national team. There's lots of different talks for Ancelotti, but I don't think Man United would be on the cards for him. I just don't think it'd happen. I know a lot of people rate him. I think he's been a brilliant manager over the course of his career. Highly respect what he's done, but he won't end up at Manchester United. It's you can want it all you want, but I don't think it'll happen. It's like me saying, I want a six-pack by 8 o'clock tonight. It's not going to happen, is it? We're not at that kind of... We're not at the point where Ancelotti would want to come to Manchester United from Real Madrid. I just don't think it'd happen. So that won't be happening. And plus, even if it did happen, it'd be in... I don't think we'd be looking to get a new manager in for at least, I'd probably say, another 9 months. Ten Hag will get at least the start of next season, and you'd think he'd get the full season unless things drastically went wrong. So Ancelotti was in the news, but I think we can shut that down, and I don't see a cat in hell's chance of this happening, to be honest with you. Duito says Ancelotti can go to Liverpool. No, he can't. We don't want Liverpool getting a good manager. Tell you who can go to Liverpool: Gareth Southgate. Danny Murphy, bigging up Gareth Southgate. Danny Murphy, I think, is a good pundit, by the way. But bigging up Gareth Southgate on TalkSport, I'm still not over it. Would you want him at Liverpool? If he's that good, take him at Liverpool. So Matthias Grote says, don't worry, Real will sell him to us when he's finished. I think he's kind of picking up on the joke that we usually do buy Real Madrid players when they're coming towards the latter end of the career. And got a little bit of a chat going on in the chat, trying to keep up with everyone. Got a super chat in here from Goldio, and make sure you get your super chats in if you want your opinion heard. Going to be talking about something really interactive in a second. Goldio says, more chance of Luton winning the league than getting Don Carlo. Also, 4 in, 4 out. Who would you sell and who would you buy, Beth? Oh, that's really interesting, actually, Goldio. So I'll answer your question. 4 in, 4 out. 4 out would be Mason Greenwood, Jadon Sancho, Donny van de Beek, and Anthony Martial. Therefore, that are definitely going out. I mean, you could add to the budget. Even though Wan-Bissaka's been playing well, I think you've got to entertain potential offers for him, just because I don't know if it's a full package is in going forward, which is what we need. Also, Harry Maguire, I think I would entertain offers for Harry Maguire, as much as I think he's a good squad player to have and he's done well for us this season. I think you can cash in for money there. Also, another one to bring into contention would be Victor Lindelof. One of them two, I think, would have to part ways with for a bit of money, I would say. Who would I bring in? Well, I'm going to talk about this in a second. I'm not going to go into exact names yet because I'm not definite myself on exact names. And everyone answer this question as well in the chat. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. But I definitely, my top four positions in football would be centre-back, striker, midfielder, and a left-back. They would be my top 4 positions right now. Get in the comments. No, in no particular order as well, I don't think. Get in the comments what yours would be. But that's an interesting super chat. I can't name you the personnel yet because I'm not 100% decided. I have people in mind that I would like. You know, Tadebo's up there, Branthwaite's up there. I really like Ivan Toney. You know, me and Mark, we agree on some things, we disagree on some things, and that's the good thing about the community. I really rate Ivan Toney. I think we should bring him in. Mark doesn't think we should. Like, that's the way the community goes. Also, you know, other players that I like. There's a few others that I really do like as well, but I'm not 100% decided yet. But getting your chats on this. Really good super chat. Thank you for that, Goldio. Really good super chat. But to kind of bring into... the show, this topic, which I wanted to talk about, and this is where I talk about getting interactive with you guys, which I love to do. This is a story that is coming out, and Bakayoko from PSV. So, Liverpool apparently are ecstatic as Ratcliffe pulls Man United out of the race for dazzling forward with different star wanted. Apparently, Liverpool now stand a much better chance of signing Johan Bakayoko, as Manchester United have reportedly cooled their interest. And Bakayoko obviously is a right winger that plays for PSV. He's left-footed, loves to cut inside from the right flank, and he has 15 goals and 18 assists in 77 games for PSV. So, the reason why Bakayoko's getting linked to Liverpool is Mo Salah might be leaving Liverpool. Bakayoko likes to cut in, left-footed. That link's being made between Liverpool and Bakayoko because they might see him as a Mo Salah replacement and kind of a successor. That's what's being reported here. And I do think there is a big chance that Mo Salah leaves Liverpool. And apparently Manchester United were interested as well. We have been scouting and looking at right wingers, whether we think that's a priority position or not. But the report goes on to say that Man United won Olise over Bakayoko. With a price tag of 60 million, Olise will cost more than Bakayoko, as the latter can be signed between 50 to 60 million euros, which is 43 to 51 million pounds. Ratcliffe, though, feels Olise would be worth every penny. After all, the 22-year-old has already proven himself to be a top performer at the English top flight, whereas it might take Bakayoko time to adjust to his new environment. So apparently, Ratcliffe wants to snare the best-in-class British players for Man United, and Olise fits into that category as he is able to represent either England or France at international level. So, there's a few things I can say about this. I mean, there's so many different tangents we can go off and get in your opinions. First thing, it's very obvious that Sir Jim massively likes Olise and the Ineos team. They've been approved by Sir Jim and Ineos. They've been approved by the Man United scouting department. Olise literally looks like it's nailed on for the summer. He wants to come to Manchester United as well. That's been reported. So Olise, I think Sir Jim's pushing this. From what I can gather through the reports, he really likes him. One thing I would say is I really like Olise too. Creative winger, exactly what, you know, we need a creative winger. We need someone who's going to feed Højlund. I completely agree with that. Premier League proven. Again, another thing I agree with. Time and time again, Man United have taken a few risks that haven't paid off. You know, you've got players from leagues where aren't quite up to the Premier League standard, and sometimes that massively pays off, and these players can go on and be brilliant, and they seem to do for other clubs, but sometimes it is a bit of a risk. You know, with Olise, it's quite risk-proof because he's played in the Premier League already. He's been successful for a Crystal Palace team that does, you know, play with a low block, doesn't really get a chance to go forward as much as the likes of, you know, a Manchester United or a top team. So Olise can work in the Premier League. It's what I call, it's minimal risk. It's minimal risk. You know, you're bringing in Anthony from Ajax, it's high risk. That's a high-risk transfer because the Dutch league is very, very different to the Premier League. Olise is a low-risk signing because he's already proved himself at Premier League level. Sancho, high risk, comes in from the Bundesliga. I mean, Haaland came in and absolutely smashed it. That can happen. I mean, De Bruyne played at the Bundesliga, came in and absolutely smashed it. That can happen. But it also is a risk because the leagues are different. So I understand him wanting Premier League proven players. I get that. The English thing, don't care. Don't care if they're English. Don't care what country they're from. To be honest, I look at how good they are as a football player and what leagues they've played in, what level they've played at. So Olise, very, very good forward player. Creative, offers us something that our current forwards don't. And we've got good forwards. I mean, Garnacho, super direct, actually is quite creative on the right wing as well, but also loves to go for goal himself. Rashford, direct as well. Ahmad's more of a creative, you know, cuts inside and moves into the half spaces. Also can play as an attacking midfielder. Anthony is more of a winger that you play when you are in possession, not really a counter-attacking winger at all. Olise is a direct dribbler, but also can create and puts in good crosses into the box as well. So he gives you some creation for Højlund, which is massively needed because we've said all season our wingers do not create enough chances for our centre-forward. Our wingers are very good in different ways, but they're not creative enough for a centre-forward. And that's what we need. So I get the interest in Olise. And I like Olise. And I think he's a good player with a lot of potential. The one drawback from this is I actually don't think a right winger is an absolute necessity this season. Do I think it's something we need to look at? Yeah. Do I think it's a necessity this season? No. That's where I would go about it. When you look at the money that Man United have to spend this summer and you look at the amount of positions that we need to invest in, should we really be spending £50 million on a right winger now? £50 to £60 million on a right winger? I don't think we should. I think it should become further down the line. I put a tweet out about this and I actually got a reply from my good friend DZ, who's been on the call-in shows before, and he said that he thought a right winger was more important than a striker because getting a creative right winger in gives service to Højlund and gives him more opportunity to flourish and develop because he's actually getting service in. And he's obviously our main striker that we're investing in. I mean, I get his point, but I do think United need two strikers. There's no two ways about it. You can't go into another season with just Rasmus there. You have to have somebody else. But a right winger and creating chances for Højlund, of course, is super important. But look round the pitch. I'd say we need two centre-backs. We need a left-back. We need a midfielder. We need a striker. £50 to £60 million on a right winger, is that where we should be spending our money this season? It wouldn't be where I would spend it first and foremost. And Olise looks like he could be one of our first signings. Is that the right way to spend our money this summer? Get in the chats what you guys think. Spoiled Ballot Papers says Olise is a Mason Mount type of transfer, easy transaction. That's the thing, it is an easy transaction. He's got a release clause, he wants to come. Crystal Palace have accepted the fact that he's going to leave. You know, there's not much negotiating to do there. You pay the release clause, you get him, and he is a good player, and he is Premier League proven. Like, the scouting of him is dead on. He's the type of profile we'd need. But is he a priority? It's like you're cooking a meal. Bear with me here. I'm not quite up to standard with Mark's analogies, but I'm going to try and do one. It's like you're cooking a meal, and, you know, you need to put your pasta on, you need to chop your onions, you need to chop your peppers, you know, you need to cook your meat, you need to add the seasoning. But there's also, you know, the pipes bust on the on the tap where you're washing your dishes, and also the pan set on fire. But you continue to chop the onions, you continue to chop the peppers, and just watch the fire keep going up in flames and the water bursting out the pipe. You know, there's certain priorities that you need to take care of here. We need to make sure the pipe stops leaking water and get that under control. We also need to turn the fire off, or else, you know, our house is going to kind of, you know, burn down in flames. It's not about whether you can, you know, get the food tasting nice and get the food on. You've got to take care of what the priorities are in that situation. And of course, Olise is a good player. You know, he checks a lot of boxes. But realistically, what our fire and the water is for us is centre-backs, strikers, a midfielder, a left-back. That's where I think money should be spent this summer, if I'm going to be honest, just based off importance of what this squad needs. But get in the comments what you think. I went round the houses on that one a little bit, but I think you get my point. Maybe I'll need to take some more analogy lessons from Goldbridge. Goldio says, don't fancy replacing Onana then with your you got a super chat in saying that. No, I don't fancy replacing Andre Onana. I think Andre Onana is doing really well in 2024, to be honest. Onana had a shaky start to Manchester United life, but he's doing well in 2024. So goalkeeper would not be a priority for me to look at. I think Onana's steady right now, and hopefully he continues to develop, and I do really like him. But get in the comments where your top priorities would be, and I'll read a couple of them out. Delboy says Olise should be the last deal that we do. He's the last priority. Wow, okay. David Mean says Erik ten Hag out. Why Erik ten Hag out? There is a lot of Erik ten Hag outers still out there, actually. They've just gone quite quiet because of the Liverpool win. But I just don't understand why you'd want. What manager would you want in now that's going to change things? Erik ten Hag is very highly rated around Europe. There'd be top clubs in for him straight away, I think. United have to stick with him, in my opinion. Xerxes sells Sancho, says Lance Pillay. Xerxes is an interesting one that I'm going to do a lot more research on, actually. I saw something today that apparently he might have a 35 million release clause, and if that's true, then that's something really interesting. A lot of people saying the top targets are a centre-back and a striker, of course. Sean Indley says, Beth, do you really think that we can get top 4? Yeah, I don't think we can get top 4. I think we can get 5th. I think 5th spot is where Manchester United should be aiming for, and that I think is achievable. I don't think we'll get 4th. Reason why I don't think we'll get 4th: City, Liverpool, Arsenal are all nailed on. Villa or Spurs will get the 4th spot, I think. United have to try and creep in and get 5th. I don't think we'll get 4th, but you never know. It could end up happening. Palestri is probably going to be sold, says Replays. What is interesting is, you know, United clearly, and this will be coming from Ten Hag as well, because we know Ten Hag likes this. They want a left-footed right winger. So I asked myself, you know, Garnacho is doing really well on the right, and do not get me wrong, but his preferred position is on the left. And Garnacho can play with his right, he can play with his left. He's predominantly right-footed, but he can play really well with his left foot. But you look at the wingers that we have: Anthony, left-footed, cuts in. Ahmad, left-footed, cuts in. Obviously, he can probably play with his right a little bit more than what Anthony can. Probably a lot more than what Anthony can right now. Anthony said he's working on his right foot, so hopefully see that develops. He's just scored with it, so a good goal as well. And then you're looking at, you know, Bakayoko is a name that got mentioned, that Liverpool are kind of ahead in that race. He's left-footed. Olise left-footed. That's kind of the profile we're going for. So it does show that we are in sync with Erik ten Hag right now, because if they're all the players that we've kind of, you know, are looking for that right wing spot, they're all players that are very good on the left foot, or are predominantly left-footed, which of course is what Ten Hag likes. He wants that right winger that's going to be able to invert inside. But if you are that type of profile, I always say this, you've got to be absolutely top drawer, because that's the way a lot of top teams go. They have a right winger that is left-footed, but you've got to be top drawer to be able to execute it, and that's why Anthony obviously needs to be able to use his right foot more if he's going to be successful at Manchester United. And you need players all over the pitch that are comfortable on both if you're going to play in a system where you are relying a lot on possession, which I think is the direction that we are we are going to eventually go in, which right now we're poor in possession, but eventually we're going to get there. But that is the 2 p.m. show for now, guys. So just to kind of leave you off on that, get in the comments down below what your top 3 positions would be for Manchester United in the summer, or maybe top 4. Top 4 like the Champions League. What would your top 4 positions be? And let me know. Spoiled ballot paper says start buying players from the back first, centre backs, right backs, CDM, striker. Last but not least, I'll end the show on this actually. I know Mark spoke about it this morning, but I don't think we need a right back as a priority in the summer. That goes into the same direction as where I'd place a right winger. It'd be good to get one in, and it is an area that we need to look at, but it's not on the priority list. Dalot is more than capable. Wan-Bissaka is probably he is the player that you'd look to sell on and bring someone better in to compete with Dalot. But for now, he's good enough. It's not a fire in the kitchen. It's not a burst pipe. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think that's an area that United will probably end up looking at maybe next summer, maybe in the winter transfer window, which, to be fair, we don't ever seem active in that. But that's where I would go. My top 4, just to end the show, would be centre-back, striker, left-back, and a midfielder. And when I talk about a midfielder, I'm talking about a centre defensive midfielder. That's where I'd be looking at. Hybrid 6/8 potential role. Ball playing centre mid, defensive midfielder. But let me know what you guys think. Please hit a like on the video on the way out. Really like these short little 2 p.m.s where we get into discussion. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back later for the 8 p.m. show. I can't remember who it is. I think it's Mark tonight on the 8 p.m. show. But thank you for watching. 7 p.m. on the United stand with Goldbridge, and then it's the England game with That's Football. Kobe Mainoo apparently is going to get his debut. I will be watching. Hopefully Southgate will be able to play a little bit better football than he did at Wembley against Brazil, but I'm not holding out hopes for that. But thank you everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Can't wait for United to be back, and yeah, see you later.